Some of the things destroying your life aren't loud. They don't crash in with chaos or shout their presence. They're quiet, invisible, even like invisible weights strapped to your back. You carry them every day without realizing they're bleeding your peace, your time, and your future dry. They don't explode like disasters, they drip. Little habits, little people, little thoughts that slowly eat away at your energy until one day you wake up wondering why you're exhausted, unmotivated, and stuck. The truth? Most people aren't ruined by one big mistake. They're drained by 1,000 tiny ones they never noticed. So today, I'm exposing 10 silent habits that quietly destroy your life from the inside out. Once you see them, you'll never live the same way again. If you're serious about protecting your peace, leveling up your mindset, and cutting the noise that's been holding you back, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's next. Let's start with the first one, and probably the hardest to admit. 1. Emotional parasites. We all know one. The friend who magically appears only when their world is collapsing but disappears the second they're okay again. The person who drains you, complains for hours, and somehow makes their problems feel like your fault. You tell yourself you're being kind. You tell yourself they need you. But what they really need is your energy, and they've learned exactly how to take it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Not everyone who calls you friend actually likes seeing you happy. Some people are addicted to drama, and they use your attention as fuel. They leave feeling lighter while you're left carrying the weight they just dumped on you. You don't need to make an announcement or have a confrontation. You don't need to explain why you're done. Just quietly step back, fade out, disappear like Batman when the conversation ends. Because real peace doesn't come from setting boundaries and then explaining them. It comes from protecting your energy so fiercely that chaos can't even find your number. And the day you stop rescuing people who refuse to swim, that's the day your life starts floating again. 2. The one-day delusion. There's a tiny voice inside your head that whispers, "I'll do it when I'm ready." That voice sounds harmless, even reasonable, but it's a liar. Because here's the truth. You're never going to feel ready, not tomorrow, not next month, not after things calm down. That perfect window you're waiting for, it doesn't exist. Most people never fail because they tried and lost. They fail because they never started. They spend their whole lives building imaginary starting lines, thinking they'll begin when it's easier, when it's clearer, when the stars finally align. But someday is the most expensive word in the English language. It costs you dreams, time, and momentum, and by the time you realize it, it's already robbed years you'll never get back. If you want to kill that one-day mindset, do something today. Even if it's ugly, messy, or half-baked. Perfection is a trap disguised as preparation. Progress doesn't require confidence, it creates it. Start before you're ready. Speak before it's perfect. Move before it makes sense. Because messy action will build a life that waiting never will. 3. Over-explaining everything. Let's talk about one of the most exhausting habits you don't even realize you've built the need to explain yourself. You cut someone off, and you feel the urge to write a paragraph about why. You say no to a plan and immediately feel guilty enough to justify it. You change your hairstyle, your job, your friends, and suddenly it feels like you owe the world an explanation. You don't. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that your peace needs permission, that before you make a move, you have to make it make sense to everyone else. But here's the truth. You're not a press release. You don't owe anyone a detailed report on why you decided to prioritize your own life. Every time you explain your choices to people who don't matter, you hand them emotional power they didn't earn. And once they have it, they'll use it. They'll question your growth, guilt trip your progress, and make your freedom feel like betrayal. So stop broadcasting your boundaries. Stop defending your decisions to people who haven't lived your struggles. The people who truly love you don't need a PowerPoint presentation to understand your peace. Silence is power. And one of the fastest ways to protect your energy is to stop over-explaining it to people who will never get it anyway. Move in quiet confidence. The ones who need an explanation aren't your audience, they're your distraction. 4. The comparison trap. Comparison is the silent poison that destroys more peace than failure ever could. Every scroll, every highlight reel, every "look how perfect my life is" post slowly rewires your brain to believe you're behind, that you're not doing enough, not earning enough, not enough. But what you're really comparing is your behind the scenes to someone else's trailer. You don't see their sleepless nights, the doubts, the debt, or the silence behind their smiles. You only see the filtered version of their life they want you to see. And here's the crazy part. Even the people you envy are busy comparing themselves to someone else. It's a loop that never ends. Half the people flexing online are fighting private battles they'd never post. So unfollow, mute, and detach from anything that makes you forget your own lane. Your life has its own timeline. And the moment you stop competing with their story, you finally start writing yours. 5. Victim thinking. It's easy to sit in the comfort of self-pity to believe life keeps happening to you instead of for you. You tell yourself the world is unfair, that luck skips your address, that no matter what you do, things never go right. But here's the truth. As long as you keep narrating your life like a tragedy, you'll never step into a victory. Life's already hit you before everyone gets punched. But staying down, that's optional. Every time you say, "that's just my luck," you reinforce a story that traps you. And that story becomes your identity. You start expecting disappointment instead of progress, and the universe always delivers what you expect. So flip the script. Stop being the victim of your story and start being the author of your comeback. You can't rewrite the past, but you can rewrite the attitude that shapes your future. Remember, pain might not be your fault, but healing is your responsibility. 6. Arguing with fools. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. Some people aren't looking for truth, they're looking for attention. They'll drag you into endless debates just to drain your peace and prove a point that doesn't even matter. You can't teach logic to someone committed to misunderstanding you. And honestly, trying to convince a fool is like trying to play chess with a pigeon. They'll knock over all the pieces, poop on the board, and still strut around like they won. Every minute you spend arguing with people who don't listen is a minute stolen from your growth. You don't have to be right in every conversation. You just have to be calm enough to walk away. Because being peaceful will always beat being right. 7. Hidden clutter. Not all clutter sits on your floor. Most of it lives in your mind. You think you're overwhelmed by life, but really, you're just surrounded by too much noise. 50 unread emails, a desk buried in papers, a phone that never stops buzzing. Even your thoughts are cluttered, 1,000 open tabs of, "I'll deal with it later." But here's the thing, clutter doesn't just fill space, it steals focus. Your brain can't create when it's constantly cleaning up. Start deleting. Start simplifying. Every item you toss, every notification you silence, every maybe later you finally finish. It's not just organization, it's liberation. Because the more space you clear, the more peace you create. 8. Fake emergencies. Most of what feels urgent isn't. You've just been trained to believe it is. We live in a world where every vibration, every ping, every "hey, can you talk" message demands an instant response. And somewhere along the way, we confused being busy with being important. Now, your phone dictates your focus, and other people's priorities control your peace. Not everything that screams for your attention deserves it. That email can wait. That text doesn't need an instant reply. And the person who says it's urgent, 9 times out of 10 just means "I want it now." When you treat every notification like a fire alarm, you start living in survival mode. Your mind never rests, your focus never resets, and your day becomes one long reaction. Here's a secret. 90% of urgent things fix themselves when you give them time. And the remaining 10%? They're easier to handle when you're calm, not frantic. So stop sprinting to every flashing light that pops up. Protect your attention like it's gold, because it is. Every time you pause, breathe, and choose to respond instead of react, you reclaim control over your life. If it's truly urgent, it'll still be there when you're ready. And if it disappears the moment you stop chasing it, it was never worth your peace in the first place. 9. Overthinking. Overthinking feels like control, but it's really just fear in disguise. You tell yourself you're being careful, preparing, analyzing, but what you're actually doing is stalling. You replay the same scenarios, trying to predict every outcome, every mistake, every reaction. And in the process, you never move. Here's the truth. Thinking isn't the same as solving. At some point, you have to trade questions for action. Make a choice, even if it's the wrong one, because movement teaches you what overthinking never will. Clarity doesn't come from perfect planning. It comes from doing, failing, adjusting, and doing again. So stop trying to predict the whole movie. Just roll the next scene. 10. People-pleasing. People-pleasing looks kind on the surface, but underneath, it's quiet self-destruction. It's saying yes while every part of you is screaming no. It's showing up for everyone but yourself and then wondering why you feel invisible. You bend your schedule, your boundaries, and sometimes your identity just to keep the peace. But here's the irony. The more you try to please everyone, the less anyone truly respects you, including you. You weren't born to be everyone's emotional support system. You're not Wi-Fi, you don't owe the world constant connection. When you say yes to everything, you end up saying no to your own growth, rest, and happiness. Start choosing discomfort over resentment. It'll feel awkward at first, you'll worry, they'll call you selfish or rude, but that discomfort, it's the sound of your boundaries forming. Real love, real friendship, real respect, they don't come from people who expect you to shrink to keep them comfortable. They come from the ones who clap for you even when you say no. So stop watering every garden that never grows. You don't need to please everyone. You just need to stop disappointing yourself. Let's be honest, most people spend their lives adding more things, more noise, more distractions. They collect toxic habits, one-sided friendships, and mental clutter like trophies, then wonder why they're exhausted and unfulfilled. But peace doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing what doesn't belong, from cutting away what dulls your focus, your confidence, your fire. Strong people don't carry everything they curate. They know that success isn't about holding on tighter, it's about letting go faster.